joy it brings. The feeling inside takes my breath away. What you give brightens up my day. There's nothing better than love. Feel your warm embrace, your hug, your touch. Never wanna imagine life without you. There's nothing better than love. Something so magical feels unreal. A fantasy place where children live. I feel like a princess in a fairy tale. You came along and you changed my world. There's nothing better than love. Feel warm embrace, your hug, your touch. Never wanna imagine life without you. There's nothing better than love. All the beauty I see means more to me. Having you here by my side, all the finer things would never be without you here in my life. Oh, there's nothing better than love. Oh, feel warm embrace, your hug, your touch. Never wanna imagine life without you. Oh, there's nothing better than love. Nothing better. Oh, yeah. Nothing better than
The love in your mind was made to set us free. The power of love, supreme in you and me. There's a reason we have our love to give and share today. The love in our mind will surely lead the way. Doesn't matter what or how much you make.
People of the world need to come together.
Dit doe we serve and dit doe we beseech for help.
What I'm looking for in the march is the spiritual connection with one another.
I really think it's about our African family.
But I want to be among the majority on that day, which is going to be my race.
And see your love for family in your big brown eyes. I say, clap hands and let's come together.
The most precious part of our souls right away. If we want our world to survive this decay,
Not listen, doctors and just all the witness.
can save the world.
that this day and this celebration is bigger than any one leader.
There may not be much
It
more
is
time to
God's
let
plan.
good thoughts shine. Evil ones plan to break the earth and make us all blind.
This movement
But
today,
I'm not believing,
800,000
'cause I
blacks in
know
jail,
inside
500,000 in college.
the power of love to great for us to hide.
But
The
really
power of
true,
love in you
all
is too
thanks,
great for us to
all
hide.
praise, all
See
honor,
with your
all
mind,
glory
all that's left
belongs to God.
is
For
the
this
power of ourselves.
is the day
We
that the
must
Lord
be
has made.
as one to create the new day. Life is the key, so unlock your heart, say goodbye to misery. Let's enjoy ourselves and bring light to the world. Dare to give and send your love from your heart. We must start now, today. Let your caring lead the way. Share, we must share the most precious part of our souls right away.
Good evening from Washington, where the heart of the Capitol has been filled today with African American men, a huge crowd, hundreds of thousands, young and old, from all corners of the country, here to participate in ceremonies of celebration, atonement, protest, here to be praised and challenged by black preachers and politicians, poets and entertainers. At the end of the day, a long, passionate, and confrontational speech from the controversial leader of this march, Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan spoke beyond this audience, directly challenging President Clinton. We begin tonight with NBC's Robert Hager.
They poured off buses from Baltimore, Richmond, Syracuse, Norfolk, and all across the country. By midday, they filled the Washington Mall, from the U.S. Capitol all the way to the Washington Monument, a stunning sight. They heard from scores of black leaders and from the poet Maya Angelou. And at day's end, they heard from the man who called them here, Louis Farrakhan.
But the real evil in America is not white flesh or black flesh. The real evil in America is the idea that undergirds the setup of the Western world. And that idea is called white supremacy.
Then Farrakhan talked directly to President Clinton.
We are a wounded people, but we're being healed. But President Clinton, America is also wounded. And there's hostility now in the great divide between the people. Socially, the fabric of America is being torn apart. And it's black against black, black against white, white against white, white against black, yellow against brown, brown against yellow. We are being torn apart. And we can't gloss it over with nice speeches, my dear Mr. President.
good morning and welcome to Sunday School. We have a special edition this morning. It is, ladies and gentlemen, it's Sunday, but it's October 16th. And we're going to be reflecting on some historic events that happened on this day, some 27 years ago. I mean, golly. We were called out on a Monday, a work day, and asked by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to meet us in Washington, D.C. on Monday, October 16th. He said, I want 1 million men to meet me on the mall in Washington, D.C. And I will never forget that first call, nor the subsequent calls that went out as we prepared to meet on the mall in Washington, D.C. Well, good morning, good morning. I am your Sunday school teacher this morning, Dr. Alonzo Richard Fleming, Jr. And this morning, I'm going to give you some reflections of what I experienced as one who attended the Million Man March. And hopefully it will inspire you and also give you more insight into my thinking. And when you hear me doing these Sunday school classes and other things that I post on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram, you'll kind of get insight into my mind and know how I think. And so the title of this morning's Sunday school lesson, ladies and gentlemen, is Long Live the Spirit of the Million Man March. Long live the spirit of the Million Man March. And I'm going to be addressing this morning the question, what is the spirit of the Million Man March and how does it benefit you? What actually occurred leading up to the Million Man March and subsequent to the Million Man March? What is the spirit of the Million Man March? We talk about spirits all the time, and I believe that there's only one spirit that permeates the universe, and it comes in different manifestations. So what is this spiritual manifestation, or what is the spirit that manifested leading up to the Million Man March, what the Million Man March was all about, and subsequent to the Million Man March, what does it mean? So I want to just first give some insight into what was occurring in my life leading up to 1995 when the Million Man March occurred. I was living a pretty decent life. I had my own little business. I was writing software and doing programs and tutoring and all kind of things, consulting with schools on technologies. And this was when the internet was really starting to emerge and programming was really starting to emerge. And there was this thing going on, and rap music was at its height, you know, the more radical, as they call it, rap music with Public Enemy and X-Clan and Laquan and all these rappers who was leading us into consciousness. And this was way before gangster rap started emerging. And I believe that gangster rap started coming about as a result to undermine what the rappers was giving us men, which was an education. And now we're getting hoes and money and, you know, material possession as the theme of rap music and these days. But aside from that, I was working at this school teaching 10th grade geometry and 12th grade pre-calculus and just living a normal life. I was very conscious about my community. I was in Detroit and I'm looking around and seeing the devastation of the community, and I had moved downtown Detroit away from all of that, but I worked in the inner city. And so I got a chance to see it as I drove in and out of the city, the devastation that was occurring among Black people in the city of Detroit. When Minister Farrakhan called the Million Man March, I was really, really excited. I felt that it was an opportunity for us to bring our talents and skills together and in a more productive way, in a more focused way as Black men to address the issues of our community and take responsibility, which I have always felt was necessary in any people. And I don't know where I got that mind from, except I just think that it's a natural part of being a man, to take responsibility for yourself and your family. I just always felt that that was the primary responsibility, me taking responsibility myself, as opposed to a government handout or anything else. And that's not to put down any other things. But when he made the call to meet him in Washington, D.C., there was a lot of talk about what was going to happen. There was a lot of talk about, are we going there to fight? Are we going to attack the country or the capital? What are we going there for? Are there going to be snipers there to snipe us off and to imprison us and exterminate us all in one fell swoop? We were concerned that that was the talk that was going around among not only the men, but among women who had concern and love for us. But something inside of me impelled me to attend the Million Man March. I just felt that there was something about this thing that was going to be a turning point, and not only in my life, but in the lives of those who I was dealing with. I mean, I had my own problems. I had some problems that I was dealing with that was really hurting me in my mind and tormenting me. One of my cousins had just been murdered in front of his wife and children just because he did not want to participate in drugs. And he had planned to attend the Million Man March. And so that further impelled me to go to represent my cousin Fed, that's what we called him, Fed, at the Million Man March, who was brutally murdered a couple months prior to the march taking place. I wanted to attend the Million Man March for my children. I wanted to attend the Million Man March for myself. I didn't have a way to deal with my own problems. I felt confused about life. I was working. I had money in the bank. I drove a nice BMW. You know, what life was not bad if you looked at me materially speaking. But if you looked at inside of my mind, I was tormented on every front. I felt like I was here, but no one saw me. I felt like I had something to contribute, but no one wanted it. I felt like that, did I actually have a use? Did God make a mistake in putting me here? I was being tormented. I was being disrespected like any other Black man when I went into an Arab store who despised us because the Arabs had taken over Detroit in terms of the commerce. They wanted our women, but they despised the men. And it didn't matter that I was college educated. They couldn't tell based on how I looked. They didn't know me. But I was disrespected as somebody who may have been coming in there to rob them. I was no different than any other man that walked in that store. And the women were subject to the flirtations, to the exploitation, and when I say exploitation, I mean exploitation. And I tried many, many things to address this stuff on my own For example, in Detroit, there was this whole thing about the Arabs coming into Detroit, taking all of our money and then taking it out to Dearborn to build up their community. So I had a degree in physics, so I decided this is what I can contribute. I'm going to go to Dearborn and take some of their money and bring it back to Detroit. So I took a teaching job at an Arab or Islamic school. And I have to say to you, it was the best job I have ever had in my life to this day, other than my own business. And the reason is because I didn't have to contend with breasts and butts being hung out by the teachers and the students. When I was teaching in the black schools, titties and ass is what I had to deal with. And trying to keep my dignity and my self-respect was difficult because of titties and ass. This was the condition that I was dealing with prior to the Million Man March. So when I went to the Islamic Academy in Dearborn, Michigan, and by the way, I was teaching pre-calculus and physics, and I was in charge of the entire 12th grade class. 25 students made up the 12th grade class, and every single one of those kids, when they graduated from high school, I was teaching the seniors, got full ride scholarships to the University of Michigan in their engineering department. That was the level and intensity that I taught. But I had a difficult time teaching black students because the politics of black administrators and the sexual deviancy of black administrators. I mean, one brother who was and I'm recalling this to help you to understand what led my mind to go to the Million Man March, so you can see what was going on in my head. One brother even asked me, he was the son of the director of the black school, African Center School that I was working for, asked me, you can't find one of these women here? Because these black women were desperately bringing their sons to the school to save them from what they saw the public schools under black teachers and administrators were doing to their children. So they felt that they would go to an independent school to try to save their sons. Many of the super blacks in the school that I was working with teachers, were exploiting that situation and just having sex and going through all those women. I'm not here to say that I'm not a man, but I went there for a different reason, and I stayed focused on the reason for which I was there, which was to educate those children in mathematics and science and hopefully become part of a future that is filled with dignity, scholarship, and accomplishment. And so I resisted the urge to go through the women. I resisted the urge to exploit the situation. But the resistance was very difficult because I was just in an environment that was anti-intellectual, anti-spiritual, but had a lot of fluff and the language of it all there and the dressing of it all. And so I dressed very corporate, so I didn't come in with my kufi on and my dashikis on and stuff. It was just, I was pretty much naive. And so they said, you're a nonconformist. They accused me of being a nonconformist. But in my mind, I was conforming to the situation exactly how they were telling me. I was thinking African-centered. I was trying to, if you say that your ancestors built the pyramids and invented all of the high mathematics, then we should be doing the same thing. That's what was in my mind. So it was under that backdrop, in my experience, that led me to participate in the Million Man March. I felt, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, that no one saw me. I was walking around invisible. I felt like I had a lot to offer to life and society, but no one wanted it. And so the theme and the constant struggle of my life has been trying to shout from the rooftops, I'm here. I am here. It was even when I began looking for a home that the home had to say, I'm here. And I find that everything I try to do is a declaration to the world. I am here. That's what led to the Million Man March. Now, the Million Man March was not a protest. It was not, we did not go there to protest what the white man, and I like to say the great white man, because we always talking about what white people are doing. But the spirit of the Million Man March had nothing to do with protesting or making a request to white society or white government. The purpose of the Million Man March was the purpose of atonement. And if you look at the word atonement, and I kind of scrambled it around to kind of give you a hint of, or give you an idea of how I'm seeing it. Atonement means, by the way, reparations or reparation for wrong or injury. So we went to Washington, D.C., ladies, to atone or to repair the wrongs that we have done to ourselves, to our families, and to society. That was the spirit of the Million Man March. To atone and to repent. Now, the word repent is not a religious term. The word repent means to go back. It has its origin in time. In other words, you were someplace, go back to that place that you were, or recognize the place that you were. Repent, meaning to turn to something that is original to you, and turn away from something that is foreign to you. So the thing that is original to us is the God consciousness, is the scientific method of living, is the self-respect and the relationship we have with one another, and the turning away is the turning away from the concept, the idea of sin. And under the idea of sin, we turn away from sin completely. Repent from sin means to turn away from the very idea of its existence. That is what the word repent means. So you don't repent from something that you still think exists. You repent from something, turn your mind away from it as though it does not exist. I think it was Paul in the Bible that talked about reckon yourselves dead to sin. And he reasoned that the dead don't know anything. So when you repent or when you reckon yourself dead to sin, it means that you conduct yourself as though it doesn't exist. And if you conduct yourself as though something exists, you won't engage in it. Because you're not engaging in something that actually exists. So we went there to atone, to repent, and to receive or give reparation or repair a wrong that we had done to ourselves, an injury that we had done to our families and our children, as well as society. If you look at the word atonement, scrambling the word atonement around, you see that it can be said at one men. And then it has that T on the end. At one men, or men at one. And see, this is what is natural. This is natural to the human spirit, to be at one with one another in a relationship. And so at the Million Man March, the spirit of the Million Man March was making us at one, not one body, as you notice Minister Farrakhan said in the speech, about it has nothing to do with the skin. It was one mind. And so even in the Bible and in the Quran and in the Course in Miracles, it says to be of one mind and one spirit, meaning your thinking and the thing that propels you is the same in terms of its oneness and its unity. At one men, or men at one. This is natural. This is not something that is of some satanic being. Oneness is natural to humanity. But you have to be of one mind. You can put 10 people in the room that have the same skin color, but different thinkings, and you will not see oneness. They're in the same room. They have the same bodies. So you can't unite under the skin of blackness. You can have 2 people or 10 people across the planet who have never seen each other, but have the same thinking, and they are of one mind. They are one, which proves to you that they will do the same thing or similar things or treat each other very similar in terms of each other, because they are of one mind. And this is the key. I often share with my sons, it's 4 men and a cat in this house. I say money has never been our problem. Even at the height of our poverty, I would say to them, fellas, money is not our problem. Working together is our problem. They couldn't understand it. What do you mean? We haven't got no money, the lights are off, and we barely eating. You don't have no gas to put in that raggedy car of yours. What do you mean money is not our problem? Money would cure all of that. I say, no. Money is not our problem, fellas. It never has been our problems in the 10 years that we've been doing this. Money has never been our problem. Working together has been our problem. So men at one is how I'm using the word atonement. And the atonement is reparation for wrong or injury that we have done to ourselves, our families, and society. Now, we are part of a nation. The Million Man March was 27 years ago today. And I'm kind of giving an update on the speeches that you heard there and what Minister Farrakhan said. I'm kind of giving an update to some of that. We are part of a nation. It does not matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your economic status is. It does not matter what your particular disposition is we are part of a nation. And the foundation of any nation is found in its traditions, in its customs, and its courtesies. We are part of the United States. We are a nation within a nation. This nation is called the United States of America. The United States is a nation within a nation. The nation is America. The nation inside America is the United States. This is my update from it, what I got to speak to. And you see it happening right before your eyes. There is a breach that is apparent and that is glaring right now. Since the Million Man March, we've had the Million Mom March. We've had the Million Family March. We've had the Million Worker March. And most recently, we had the Million MAGA March. A million MAGAs converged onto Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And it was dubbed the Million MAGA March. And you know the history. You know what happened on January 6th. But I want you to understand, brother, that you and I set the stage for this. The Million Man March was the only one of these other million marches that gathered for the purpose of calling on ourselves. Do you see that? The Million MAGA March was designed to overthrow the United States. It was America saying no to the United States. And so when the book says, come out from among her, that you be not partakers of her sins, we are coming out of America. The United States is coming out of America. And I know some of you are saying, brother, that's preposterous. It's United States of America. Don't you see that? Of part is the United States. America is the one, United States is the other one that's coming out of America because our values, our customs, our traditions are not the same. And you need values that consist of traditions, of customs, and courtesies. It was America that fought for slavery. The Confederate States of America is what fought for slavery, to keep slavery in place. And so the founders of this country, though they had their issues, and we know them well, they had slaves, and how you talking about that all men are created equal. Well, that does not negate the truth of the assertion that all men are created equals. It's just that he's not obeying that. So we are justified in holding on to the truth. The book says to hold fast to that which is true. Prove all things and hold fast to that which is true. So are we not created equal, endowed with certain inalienable rights? Do not your spirit testify to that fact? That is the foundation of the United States, that all men are created equal. And you saw as the country developed, the United States steadily improved. It steadily repented. It steadily gave way to the saying that all men are created equal. You saw a steady step in that direction, but America got pissed off. We ain't going that way. And so somebody had to come together in the spirit of the United States to show other citizens of the United States as well as America what the deal was. Y'all read that book. You read the book. You read the book. But the book is a testimony of you, of who you are. Do you see? So long live the spirit of the Million Man March. And so now I want to give you a peek into what the Million Man March was all about in terms of what it accomplished in my life and how I see it manifesting in my sons and in different individuals that I encounter on a daily basis, and the relationships that I have had since October 16th, 1995. Now, if I was to stand here and tell you that I didn't have trips and stumbles and falls, then I wouldn't be honest with you. I've had some things that I've had to overcome, ladies and gentlemen, that made me dig down deep. It wasn't the things, it was how I reacted and how I responded to those things that arose up in my life. And this is the secret. Your attitude determines your aptitude. So, I mean, again, I might be sounding like I'm a hero who just flew in on a cape and did it all and didn't, you understand, didn't cry, didn't make mistakes, didn't have errors, didn't fall down, didn't want to quit. No, that's not the truth. Because the truth is I did all of that. But the spirit of the Million Man March is just as strong in me today as it was when I arrived on that mall on October 16th at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I want to go through some of the points of the pledge that we took at the Million Man March. And at the end of this, I want you to stay with me throughout this broadcast because I'm going to play the pledge that we took. But before I play the pledge, I want to take a few minutes to just give you the points of the pledge that we made so you will understand what to expect out of us. If you expect perfection, then you missed it. Because the only way you can see perfection is that you are perfect in terms of your outlook. So if you don't see perfection, then look in the mirror. But let me go through the points here, and then I'm going to wrap it up by playing the pledge. So when you hear us say these points in the actual pledge, you will know what I was thinking. And by the way, these evolved as the years passed. So the number one pledge, I, Alonzo, promise from this day forward that I will love my brother as I love myself. Now, that is straight out of the New Testament in terms of the saying it that way, but the spirit of that is beyond the New Testament, beyond any book. But how can you love your brother unless you first learn how to love yourself? And in the black man's experience, nothing about America validates the self of the black man. So it was a struggle, and it has been a struggle, or an acceptance, and the struggle is in the acceptance of the fact that you are in the image and the likeness of your Creator, who is supreme. And as Erykah Badu says, that if we are in his image, then call us by his name or call us by our name. Once you get the understanding of the self, you can't help but love yourself. And once you learn the art or the phase of loving yourself, you won't be able to help but to love your brother as an equal, not as a subordinate. And that goes from loving your brother Jesus to loving your brother that's sitting right next to you or in the other room. So I, from this day forward, will love my brother as I love myself. The second thing we pledged to do on October 16th is improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically for the benefit of who? Myself, my family, my people, and this will also benefit humanity. So spiritually, brothers, is the way you come at life, your outlook on life from the deepest parts of yourself. And improving yourself spiritually only means to rely on that deep part of yourself as the source of how you live. Morally means the agreed upon social norms, customs, and traditions and courtesies that is acceptable in your society. Even in the Declaration of Independence, the founding fathers of this country said that because we have a decent respect for the opinions of mankind, we set forth the reasons that impel us to the separation from America, from the British Crown. But the point is that they were conscious of the society and the world opinion which they lived in. So the moral acceptable things in our society, obviously high morals. Mentally mean to address the ills that come from our childhood and society stimuli that have come to us. It has had a mental effect on us. There are ways to deal with ourselves mentally. The first thing we have to do is to admit to that. And when you admit to the stimuli that come from the society, which has affected us mentally, don't admit to it for the purpose of blame. Admit to it for the purpose of dealing with it in yourself. Because if you begin projecting it's your fault, and it may be, but that is not the way to heal. The way to healing is introspection. Socially means to obey the laws of the society in which you live. Politically means to get involved as part of the development of the government that you are a part of. Stop looking at the government as somebody else, but look at it as an extension of yourself. So to get involved from a standpoint of setting the direction of the political body that oversees your country, and no, I'm not trying to run from any office because I fire everybody. Everybody! Democrats, Republicans, Independent, everybody got to go and start over. Economically. So don't be talking about running for office. Economically, do you understand where money comes from? Do you know how money is created? See, this in economics, they don't teach you that. They teach you economics from the standpoint all the way up to the graduate level. They teach you economics from the standpoint as though the money is there and here's how we deal it. But if you understood where money comes from, how money is created, you will have a better understanding of this economic model that you are living under, and you'll be able to deal with it from a knowledge standpoint rather than a victim standpoint. And when we improve ourselves spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economic, it benefits ourselves, our families, our people, and our government, our society, and all of humanity. You have an effect on humanity. Just by virtue of how I hear Asians in China rapping. Japan rapping. I can't understand a thing they're saying, but I know they're rapping. So number 3 is build businesses. Then number 3 is build businesses, houses, hospitals, factories, international trade, which requires international relationships. You can't trade with somebody if you're not interested in trading, if you don't know them, if you're not familiar with who they are, and you won't get familiar with who they are if you never engage yourself in the building part of your society. Building businesses, houses, hospitals. Now, you saw what happened during the pandemic. You saw what happened during Katrina. You don't think we need to begin the process of building, developing those who build, who has the propensity to build hospitals and factories, houses and businesses, and enter into international trade, and this requires international relationships. We got to think beyond America. We got to think beyond the fishbowl. And the main thing that this requires is courage. And number 4, we pledge to never raise our hands with a knife or a gun to beat, cut, or shoot any member of our family or any human being, except in self-defense. This goes along with what the saying of Jesus when he mentioned, love your enemy as you love yourself. Oh, I ain't loving no enemy. That's crazy. I ain't loving my enemy. Your enemy is your brother. So we pledge not to raise a hand, a knife, or a gun to cut, beat, or shoot our enemy, which is our family or any human being, except in self-defense. Number 5, we never abuse our wives, we pledge, by striking her or disrespecting her. And here's why, brother, that you don't strike her or disrespect her. Now, this particular piece is so important to me that when I encounter a pregnant woman in my daily going about, I don't even speak around her. I don't even speak around a pregnant woman that I don't know, unless she speaks to me. If she doesn't speak to me, I stay quiet until she's out of my presence or move myself from her presence. Why? This is so important. Never abuse my wife by striking, or disrespecting her, for she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. So she is the producer of your future. So I don't care what pregnant woman you're around. I'm just using that. Be careful of what you say, if you speak. But in terms of your wife or your girlfriend or your significant other, we don't strike her. We don't disrespect her. If you got a woman in your life that you don't want to date, then don't disrespect her. Just don't date her. But don't disrespect her because she has children and that's your future. Do you see your connection, brother, between yourself and your brother and sister? But along with this pledge, never abuse your wife by hitting her, or which is physical, disrespecting her, which is mentally or spiritually, for she is the mother of your children and the producer of your future. Now that even goes along with little girls who may not be your significant other or whatever the case is, your daughter, for example, because she is the producer of your future still, because she is your first love, or you are her first love, I should say. And she's going to have children one day, and that mind that you put in her as the masculine figure in her life may have some effect on her thinking as she chooses, as she gets impregnated, and as she raises her children. She is the producer of your future. Number 6, never engage in the abuse of children, little boys or little girls, for sexual gratification. But I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women for the future of our people. Now, when he said this, I got to admit, I was shocked. Who does that? I had no idea about the level of incest going on in the black community. I had absolutely no idea. So I was like, who does that at that time? But since that, I've discovered the level of incest and sexual abuse going on in the black community. So we pledge to never engage in the abuse of children. Little boys, if you gay or whatever, or little girls for sexual gratification. But instead, we will let them grow in peace. Do you know how incest rips the mind of a child? Do you realize the long-term effects that incest has on a child? Never engage in the abuse of children, little boys or little girls, for sexual gratification. But I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women. We're talking about your future, for the future of our people. And then number 7, I say your name, Alonzo Richard Fleming, will never use the B word to describe any female, but especially my own black sister. Do you see how this pledge takes us beyond race? I will never again use the B word to describe any female, but especially my own black sister. Now, why is that an especially part put in there? Because the music has made it popular. The women have began to call themselves that word. And we slip sometimes. I don't use the word. But I had posted some stuff on Facebook. I just thought about it as I was going through, reflecting through the pledge, where somebody else used the word. So even on that level, I will never again use the B word to describe any female, but especially my own black sister, because of the relationship between me and her. Because she is the producer, not a dog, not a word reserved for a female dog. And so if you calling yourself dog, then what is she? Number 8, I will not poison my body with drugs or that which is destructive to my health and well-being. And I put under that includes substances as well as thoughts, as well as attitudes. I will not poison my body with drugs or bad attitude. I will not poison my body with substances or destructive thoughts or destructive thinking that is anti-society, anti-myself, anti-my family. Let go of those attitudes and thoughts, as well as the substance. Now, I don't drink, but I used to. When I go out to the club, because people who do drink, they don't tend to want to be around people who don't drink. I have a special drink that I tell them to put some tonic water and a lime and a lemon in there and an olive inside the glass, and I'm walking around like everybody else. Until somebody wants to buy a drink for me or for me. I'll never forget, somebody bought a drink for me one time. They asked me, "What you drinking? Water?" Because when the bill came back, it was only about $2, $3. "What you drinking? Water?" I said, "Yeah." But tonic water. But there was a time when we were turning up 40s and when we were drinking ourselves to death. And do you know that there is no part of the body, no atom in the body, no molecule in the body that alcohol does not affect in a negative way? But there are people who drink. And drinking in moderation is something that is not, it's just like anything. You do it in moderation. But I'm noticing now, brothers, that men, black men, are not drinking. Black women are drinking. They're the ones, but they're doing it in private in the evening. I got a relative, and she says she needs a little bit of wine after work every day. And I noticed that she drinks a whole bottle after work every day. So when you overdo it is what I'm talking about. I have alcohol in my home. There are those who come over and want to drink, and I'm able to serve them a drink. But the point is to the level of poisoning. So we don't poison our bodies with drugs or that which is destructive. And the drugs being even things that are medicine, certain medicines. You can look on an individual level and determine for yourself what you will put in your body. And then last but not least, support black artists who clean up their act and have respect for themselves and respect for their people and respect for the ears of the human family. Those are the artists and newspapers, periodicals, radio, television stations. This raunchy stuff, do you really think that this raunchy stuff that they put on the TV, that comes on the TV, and we obviously are looking at it, as they degrade black men and women, or let me put it another way, as black women degrade themselves on these programs, do you think that that is supporting someone who is respecting the ears and the eyes of the human family? So what? The baby is not yours. That's not everybody's business. So the last one is to support black artists who have respect for the ears. You know when someone is respecting your ears because they are respecting your mind. And then the last one finally is to compile all of them. I will do all of these things, so help me God. This is the spirit of the Million Man March. Because the Million Man March, ladies and gentlemen, if we were to take the spirit of the Million Man March, you would produce a Dr. Fleming. And I'm just holding myself up in such a way, or offering myself to say, listen, I'm committed to this. I'm committed to it. 100% committed to it. You know why? Because I'm a man. I'm not asking nobody the question, am I a man? I'm declaring it. That is the spirit of the Million Man March.
Now, brothers, in closing, I want you to take this pledge. When I say I want you to say I, and I'll say your name. I know that there's so many names, but I want you to shout your name out so that the ancestors can hear it. Take this pledge with me. Say with me, please. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will strive to love my brother as I love myself. I say your name. From this day forward, will strive to improve myself spiritually, morally, mentally, socially, politically, and economically, for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people. I say your name. Pledge that I will strive to build business, build houses, build hospitals, build factories, and enter into international trade for the good of myself, my family, and my people. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, I will never raise my hand with a knife or a gun to beat, cut, or shoot any member of my family or any human being except in self-defense. I say your name. Pledge from this day forward, I will never abuse my wife by striking her, disrespecting her, for she is the mother of my children and the producer of my future. I say your name. Pledge that from this day forward, children, little boys or little girls, for sexual gratification. But I will let them grow in peace to be strong men and women for the future of our people. I, say your name, will never again use the B word to describe any female, but particularly my own black sister. I, say your name, pledge from this day forward that I will not poison my body with drugs or that which is destructive to my health and my well-being. I, say your name, pledge from this day forward I will support black newspapers, black radio, black television. I will support black artists who clean up their acts to show respect for themselves and respect for their people and respect for the ears of the human family. I, say your name, will do all of this. So help me God. Allahu Akbar.
Well, I hope you enjoyed us this morning. Give a little tribute to the Million Hearts. Dr. Fleming, I'll see you again next week.
What's really important are the simple things. The smile on your face, the joy it brings. The feeling inside takes my breath away. What you give brightens up my day. There's nothing better than love. Feel your warm embrace, your hug, your touch. Never wanna imagine life without you. There's nothing better than love. Something so magical feels unreal. A fantasy place where children live. I feel like a princess in a fairy tale. You came along and you changed my world. There's nothing better than love. Feel your warm embrace, your hug, your touch. Never wanna imagine life without you. There's nothing better than love. All the beauty nothing better.